Hello, everyone. It's me, Monica P. Hall, aka Conduit of Healing, and it is time for our weekly messages for the collective. First things first, how much you guys love me for coming back during a Mercury retrograde. I mean, we're only a couple days in, but girl, where you been? Y'all, where have I been? Listen, I know you've missed me. I've missed me. There's been so much transformation going on with me and the rest of us, all of you, that I was just not going to force my, sharing information with you guys unless I was just really ready to not only say something, right, but say it meaningfully and be authentic, right? So I've been tired. That's where the hell I've been. Where you been? Because I've been tired. That's what I've been doing. Taking care of other things, going through transformations, allowing, which I hope that's what you guys have been doing too. Do not force anything ever, ever, ever. Too much is going on right now that can really hurt us in the long run, that we really should not be forcing anything. All right, so in this retrograde, what are we going to be talking about? Well, I actually feel like this message has kind of been brewing within me for some time, is perfect for a retrograde, because retrogrades do ask us to reevaluate. So during this reevaluation, this is what the crew wants me to share with you. This is a really cool message. Have a listen. It's important. Being alone is not only necessary, but critical in your both personal and spiritual experience and development. Alone with yourself, being alone with yourself gives you the opportunity to develop a personal relationship with yourself. This gives you the chance to discover and rediscover both who you are and who you want to be. Time with yourself affords you the space needed to address hurts and begin to heal them. Alone does not have to mean lonely unless you choose it to be. Did you get that? Being alone with yourself. And I'm not even paraphrasing, I'm just kind of going to my favorite part. Being alone with yourself in your personal and spiritual development gives you the opportunity to develop a relationship with yourself. And why am I talking to you about this? It's real simple. Some of you really avoid being alone as much as possible, and your life shows it. Your life proves it. What do I mean by that? I mean, people pleasing is a number one culprit of somebody who avoids being alone with themselves. And it's because you are looking for other people to tell you that you're okay, that you're worthy, that you have value, that your existence, is not some sort of fluke or some sort of mistake because you mean something to them. And I've said this a million times, I'm going to say it again. You cannot hop over yourself and have a healthy relationship with someone else. Literally, you cannot somehow ignore yourself, avoid yourself, pretend to be somebody else altogether, deny any aspect of yourself, and think you're going to have a positive relationship with anyone else. The reason I'm saying this is because there's so much going on right now in terms of not just on a macrocosm, but on a microcosm. I'm getting a lot of people contacting me about their love lives, their work lives, their friendships, all asking me, what does this person think about me? How does this person feel about me? What is their intention towards me? What are they thinking? And it's a couple things. One, it's strange because they're not really asking the right questions as far as I'm concerned. And so when we place so much value on what other people think about us and what other people's intentions are towards us, we find ourselves emotionally attaching to those people's feelings about ourselves to then ascertain whether or not we have value. And this can lead to really toxic relationships. Now, one of the things that I hear is people saying, I was in bad relationships before, or, I keep finding the wrong people, and I keep ending up in the same place with, a different person, or, same situations over and over and over again. And I don't understand, why is this happening to me? And the simple answer is because you haven't learned your lesson. You haven't learned your lesson from this archetype of a toxic person, a toxic situation, or toxic ways of living, of thinking, of being, you haven't learned your lesson. So if you're not going to learn your lesson, of course you're going to keep repeating. Hello. You have to, between your relationships, in terms of when you're in between jobs, or you're looking for another job, or you're looking for another passion, and way to spend time, your energy, work, whatever, life, how you're living your life, if you're not going to take the time to be alone, to do this reevaluation, this self-evaluation on what did I learn from that? What did I learn about myself? What did I learn about, how I am responsible for where I end up? What did I learn? People don't want to take that massive step, because you might find out, oh, I learned I never dealt with that early childhood trauma that I went through. I'm in complete denial of it, and I don't realize I keep bringing people into my life to replay that trauma out in real life until I realize I need to do something about myself. It wasn't my fault. And I have to go backwards in order to go forwards. What do I mean by that? You have to go backward in order to go forward. You can't overstep the trauma to the healing. Like, I've said this a million times, I'm going to say it again. How do you get through pain? By going through pain. Meaning, in this case, the trauma may be you have to go back, hopefully with a therapist, a professional, unless you feel like you're equipped to do it by yourself, which, let's just be real, you're probably not. And go back and excavate all those buried feelings, the experiences, the memories. You have to excavate it, right? It has to be out here in the open so we can look at it, so we can talk about it. How horrible it was, how upsetting it was, how it, scarred you for life, how it, changed how you looked at yourself, looked at the world, looked at men, looked at women, looked at relationships, looked at marriage, looked at relationships between adults and children, looked at your relationship between the self and society. You have to go back there so that you can, hopefully at this point in your life, realize how much really was your fault and how much really had nothing to do with you. But most importantly, that time is over. You're not in a situation where you're still threatened. You're not in a situation where you are still vulnerable to a certain extent, and they can't hurt you anymore. Because, see, that's the thing that we carry if we don't work through trauma. We always think we're under attack. We're always in survival mode on some level. And we are waiting to be disappointed. Sometimes we're waiting to be disappointed so, fervently and so passionately that we actually just create the disappointment where there might not have been any. Think about that. Meaning, you might be so afraid of being in a loving, sweet, healthy relationship with somebody that you might be the person that creates drama where there is no drama, because drama is like your mother tongue. It's the language you're used to, right? Crazy might have been your normal for, the development years of your life. So anything that doesn't feel familiar can give you anxiety. Even if it's something healthy trying to make you better, you don't know that because chaos has been your normal. So you can literally take something good for you and make it traumatic because you have not kind of done the work to realize you grew up. You're not still living in that traumatic instant in your life, that whatever your defense mechanisms were to just survive whatever you went through, like, you don't have to live in survival mode anymore because you're not under threat. Okay? You're not going to be able to grow without taking the time to sit comfortably or uncomfortably, people, with yourself and check in. How am I feeling? No, really, how am I feeling? No, not the polite version. The true, authentic, sometimes ugly, sometimes messy version of how I'm feeling. If you're depressed, that's okay. I mean, are you looking and paying attention to the world we're living in right now? There's a lot to be depressed about. There's a lot to be sad about. There's a lot to have, lost hope in. The realities of our lives, right, versus the ideologies that we've all been indoctrinated to in one way or the other. They have clashed, like, as you know, if you know it, you know it. Worlds have collided. Worlds have collided. Worlds have collided. Reality is no longer, reality versus ideology. It's like reality has obliterated ideology. And if you're feeling sad about it and depressed about it, you would be less of a human being if in some capacity you weren't looking at all of, this thing we call life and go, this kind of sucks. Um, that being said, what you have to remember is, what can I do to make things better for myself right now? And the first thing is, you can heal. You can call a thing a thing. You can feel your real feelings. You don't have to keep pushing to trying to be great if you feel like crap. You don't have to keep showing up for people and situations that have not reciprocated. That's the other thing I think we're going to find out. Who are your real friends, right? Who are the people that really are there for you and down for you and support you the moment you need to be on the reciprocating end as opposed to the giving end? Yeah, that's going to be interesting too, right? But it's a good thing because we need the truth. And so much of our lives, have been glossed over, lied about completely, hidden, discouraged in terms of study, just so that the truth can be avoided. But can we be honest? The truth cannot be avoided. So when I have ever advised any of you to meditate, when I've ever advised you to journal, when I've ever advised you to do things alone, it is so that the true you has the space, has the time, and has your attention so it can be heard. A lot of you are walking around hurt. A lot of you are walking around angry. A lot of you are walking around feeling some kind of way about the world or others, as if it owes you something. Does the world really owe us something? Here's the truth. We tend to confuse the world and human beings quite a bit. Because I'm like, does the sky really owe me anything? Do the clouds? Does the rain? Do plants? Do animals? They don't. Do we as human beings owe one another anything? All right, so free will would say, well, we owe each other enough space so that we can self-express, but we do not owe each other's space. Meaning, there's enough space out here for everyone. There is no reason why any of us should feel like we have to give up our space, our voice, our autonomy, our free will in order for others to exist. That's not necessary. There's a lot of malignant systems on a government, financial, religious, spiritual, educational, level that has tried to get us to believe that there's just literally not enough for all of us. So that's why there's the haves and that's why there's the have-nots. Not true. If you sit with yourself long enough, getting past the hurts, getting through the confusion, just kind of tuning into your own soul, tuning into your own I am, tuning in, to the universe itself or whatever it is that you believe in, none of what we have taught, for the most part, is going to make any sense to you. I mean, nature just natures. And that's not to say that there aren't animals that are territorial and try to have more than the other. That is true, but there's a balance and there's a sense to all of it. For us, we don't know nothing about no balance. We don't care about making sense. When we run amok, we really run amok, and it affects literally everyone. Um, these are the kind of thoughts that will come to you in the time alone. So if you ask me, how do I know what I know? How did I learn what I've learned? How did I become who I am right now? I will tell you, I have been very okay with spending time alone with myself since I was a child. I grew up in a very loud, very boisterous household, and honestly, if I never wanted to think, then I would just be in the presence of my family at all times. But I require time alone, time to decompress, time to relax, time to breathe, and yes, time to think and evaluate and reevaluate. So for those of you people who, do not like being alone, there's something to be said about that, because it's telling that you don't like yourself very much. And if you don't like yourself, you probably don't love yourself. And you don't value your own thoughts. You don't value your own talents. You don't value your own existence. And so what you do is you'll go out into the world seeking validation through someone else. And here is the problem with that. They may think you're awesome in these 5 minutes. And then they go through some shit, right? And they don't want to talk about what's really going on with them. So then they start lashing out at you, start abusing you, start treating you some sort of way. And yesterday you were amazing, you were great, and you were the best thing that ever happened to me. But today, I hate my life. And so therefore I can just mess with you. I can just fuck with you and go, criticize. You could be better at this. I don't need you. This. No. And then you're wondering what happened. They loved me yesterday and today they don't. Well, likely they actually still do love you, but they're going through their stuff. And rather than dealing with their stuff, they're just going to dump on you. If we, before we kind of react to things, took that pause, took the time to be alone, took the time to feel our feelings, whether or not it's anger, whether or not it's fear, whether or not it's depression or anxiety or whatever, if we took the time to kind of give space to that, we can recognize it's us. Now, when we're talking about like actual clinical issues, I would just hope that you all use the tools that are kind of being given to you in a lot of cases and available to you. I've counseled a lot of people who've really been struggling. I will tell somebody with a quickness, please find a therapist if it's beyond anything I can help you with. I am quick to provide anybody with an 800 number for a suicide hotline if that's what they need. But I'm also quick to say, you know what? Please love yourself enough to just listen to yourself. Here's another thing that's kind of frightening, and I'm sure you're aware of. This idea that if you're a part of some sort of group think, you are no longer responsible for yourself, right? People go to churches, people join organizations, even like the metaphysical and New Age community somehow has, gotten a little bit twisted in that people feel like if they belong to a group, they're not responsible for their individual journey. Can we just not try that? Because it's bullshit. If you haven't noticed, the problem with groupthink is literally at some point in time, people relinquish their individual power and they go all in with the group, so that when they start seeing things that are wrong, right? And I know you're talking. I know you know what I'm talking about, because how many cults have we seen? How many organizations have we seen, put so much of their individual power into group think that eventually it becomes toxic. And yeah, in some cases, people end up dead. Guys, I need for you to think about the idea of loving yourself enough that you are so clear on who you are, what you want in life, what contributions that you can make, that you speak up when you realize you're in a place that is the antithesis of empowering the individual. Okay? Or you're in a relationship where the person isn't necessarily interested in loving you so much as controlling you. Or you as a person recognize it is not the purpose of the rest of us to make you feel good about yourself. So many of our quote unquote problems that we have could be resolved if we honored the importance of spending time alone. I can't tell you how many people I talk to who are looking to rush from one situation to the next situation to the next situation. This is literally like you showed up for kindergarten the first day and you're mad that by the end of the week you haven't graduated from high school. You want to keep advancing without doing the work of learning. You want to keep advancing without mastering your lessons. You want to keep advancing without growing. How? You can't. So in this Mercury retrograde, while we're, hanging out with the planet of, communication, of travel, of commerce, of deals, of contracts, while we're here doing all the re's, now would be a good time to just make it a point to spend time alone with yourself, doing some of your internal work, looking at the ugly, realizing it's likely not ugly, it's likely human, and that this is a journey of your spirit. So you are supposed to go through all the things. You are supposed to paint with all the colors. And when I say all the things, I don't mean unbearable trauma that no one deserves, where you're completely powerless. No one deserves that, and I want to be clear about that. I'm saying that things like there will be disappointment, there will be pain, you will love, your heart will get broken, you likely will be lied to, you likely will be mistreated in some sort of way, you likely will deal with some form of abuse. This is the human story. We kind of cover the entire spectrum of light to dark. But you have a choice as an individual of what you're going to say yes to and what you're going to say no to. But if you're coming from a place of desperation, if you're coming from a place of needing someone or something outside of yourself to the point where you forsake yourself, I got to tell you, there's not going to be a happy ending. There really isn't. With those pauses, with those times of getting to know each other, with the time that you spend alone with yourself, that's where you're going to realize where your boundaries need to be. That's what you're going to, when you're going to realize what you should be saying no to, whereas you've been saying yes to it in the past. That is where you're going to see where you are the person that keeps starting toxic patterns in your life, where you are the person that keeps choosing toxic people and toxic relationships in your life because you never went back and resolved the issues of your early trauma. Okay? So that's all I have for you today. And I know it's a lot. I'm literally saying, hey, go be alone with yourself. But honestly, that is what I'm saying. Hey, go be alone with yourself. And I understand it's not going to be easy for some of you. I understand that some of you might be crying your way into this time of kind of self-sequestering and self-exploration. I understand it's not going to be easy. I understand some of you might cry. Some of you might scream. Have a full-on tantrum about it. But I'm saying to you, I promise each time you do it and you come out on the other side, you're going to come out better. You're going to come out stronger, and you're going to come out with a better sense of self. And you're going to be less and less of a fool and a prey to a predator, whether the predator's a job, a boss, a loved one, a parent, a child. You are going to realize everybody is kind of still trying to figure out their own crap, or some people are avoiding figuring out their own crap, and they don't care who they get their mess on. And it's up to you to decide whether or not you're going to say yes or no to that experience. Okay? So like the crew said, the time with yourself affords you the space needed to address hurts and begin to heal them. See, here's the thing. You're not going to progress anywhere you want to go to unless you heal first. So if you're not into healing, you're not into growth. If you're not into growth, you're not into ascension. And if you're not into any of those things, you're part of the problem with the world today. Just thought I'd mention it. Okay? So, no, that I meant that. You're not part of the solution, so you got to be part of the problem. Why are you looking at me like that? I didn't hurt your feelings. I just told you the facts. Okay? Hopefully this isn't your first day. If it is, please check out some of my other videos. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this message and you have really been here with me, I want to thank you, because we've been doing these kinds of readings, these weekly messages for the collective for a year now. So yay us. But subscribe, hit the like button, share this message with anyone you feel like really could use it. All right? Thanks so much. And, well, I don't know if I'm going to be with you next week, but I'm going to try. I'm going to do my best. If nothing else, I have the message ready for no matter when we meet again. All right? Thanks so much. Namaste.